Welcome to Progress Theory. My name is Garrett. In this video series, I am documenting my attempts to overcome addictive behavior, build positive momentum in my life, and become the person I want to be. For anyone who hasn't watched any of these videos, rock bottom for me was essentially 10 years of escalating addiction with porn, weed, video games, any sort of instantly gratifying behavior. Kind of just became an overarching, conglomerative, hedonistic part of myself that would take control, and I would just self-destruct completely. And it led to, over the course of a decade, $30,000 in debt, being 50 pounds overweight, completely self-sabotaging, and failing at every goal I'd set for myself. And the porn addiction specifically escalated into years of watching hours a day, and then escalated into compulsively visiting escorts, both trans and cis female, which I had a very religious background, and that was extremely shame-inducing and confusing for me. And for about a year, I was just in and out of that cycle and repeatedly thought about killing myself. And that was about 2 years ago. I am not there anymore. I have definitely grown from that point in my life, but I still have a tremendous amount of room for growth. And so first thing I do in these videos is just go over. I built a spreadsheet to help me track my progress effectively. This month overall was good. I would say I have a tendency to look at the worst aspects immediately, or that is what sticks out to me, is where I can improve and where I'm failing. But as a whole, relative to the last 4 months of my life, this month was pretty good, and it showcased, I think, clear progress being made. Starting off with work input, I only worked my full intended day 10% of days. Yet my hours worked, I actually hit my goal of 140. Now, 140 was very reduced because when I go back to, I was doing very well in the first quarter of the year. I was consistently working 200 to 230, 260. About 260 hours when I was doing my best was what I was hitting reliably, or 240, something like that. And then I just absolutely crashed, and my hours worked dropped to under 100 consistently for a couple months. So relative to that, I kept dropping my goal to just give myself a win. If I'm consistently working 80 hours and I'm setting a goal for 240, that is a gargantuan step that feels impossible to make in 1 month. So looking at the difference between 100% completion of my intended hours worked, and yet only 10% of my full work days, it clearly shows to me that what I'm counting as a full work day is relatively extreme given my overarching goal for hours worked. And I've kind of debated changing this because, to some degree, I think it's good to construct the optimal day. And I kind of think it's good to have it like this, to where I have a baseline for the perfect day if I was going to work 10 hours. Because I am trying to excel at the new job I'm working in, and I am trying to build a business at the same time, and there is so much to do. There's an infinite amount to do. There are 100 steps that I know I need to take, and so there's not a lack of work. There's a tremendous amount of work that I could be doing at any given moment, And I think it's worthwhile having a standard for if I was going to work 11 hours, 6 days a week, this is what it would look like. And to just set the actual goal for the month. Right now, if I'm hitting 10%, like this next month, set the goal at 20%. And then on the full days worked, work it up that way. Moving on to finances. I mean, finances are directly tied to revenue. For the last 4 months, have just been waiting to get promoted at this job I'm working at, and I just got promoted like 2 weeks ago, and I'm in training, so it still hasn't fully paid off yet, but that has taken a substantial amount of time, and my revenue has suffered a lot because of it. I've lost a lot of savings because of it, but I think it is this next month and every month hereafter is going to be significantly better, and I'm going to have an actual source of stable revenue coming in, and I think that will by default fix my finances. The positive habits is the best area for this month and has been the last couple months. As you can see here, I am on a streak of 2 with all of these habits. I feel very good about it. Daily framing, meditation, exercise, self-talk recordings, and tracking my stuff and texting my accountability partner. I picked those habits up front because I think they are the most helpful for shifting some of my underlying beliefs and fixing the shitstorm that exists in my brain neurologically and neurochemically. And I can tell that it is paying off. I can feel my mental state and emotional state, the baseline improving, and I just feel significantly better about life. And every day, it just gives me something that I know I can accomplish every day. Even if the rest of the day is absolutely shit, I will get my habits done, and that is a win. That is something I did for my future self. That feels very good. And so I'm very happy about that. The negative habits is kind of mixed. With my active reframes, which is pretty much whenever I notice a negative thought pattern or a belief that is coming through that I know I want to change, I try to notice that thought occurring, call it out, and actively replace it with a more beneficial thought. I am not doing too well at actually catching this. Most of these failures are related to porn, because obviously looking at the urges overcome, there were 18 instances where I failed to overcome an urge, and there were 20 failed active reframes. And when I give into an urge, it usually occurs because there's some thought going on about, I'll just walk up to the line. I'll just look at this picture, but I won't actually give in to porn. Or I already watched porn today, so who cares? Or I've already been watching porn the last few days, so who cares? Some sort of thought that is irrational and is negative that doesn't get reframed, and then it leads to me consuming pornography. And so most of that is tied to urges, but I can tell there's just a significant amount of thoughts that I'm not catching, so I'm not even tracking properly. That's just an area that is an ongoing thing. I'm not trying to dramatically increase that performance immediately, because it's something I'm trying for the first time. I just implemented this into the program, but immediately I can tell that I'm failing to do so consistently. Urges overcome was the best part of the negative habits category, 73%. There was a lot of urges experienced this month, and I think I'm starting to recognize that when it comes to addiction, the idea that when you feed the beast, it gets hungrier, and every time you give in, your urges to give in again are amplified. And that's very obvious when I look at my month. It's pretty much broken into 2 periods where there was like a week to 2 weeks starting off where I didn't give in, and I overcame all my urges, and then there would be a couple days where I gave in. So like looking here, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I'd give in, and I'd kind of try to pull myself together, give in a couple times again, and it would just start to escalate until, like in this period, it was like over the course of like 6 or 7 days, it led to me starting to text escorts and watch considerably more pornography until I cut it off. But the urges I experienced after this, once I finally cut it off, I experienced significantly more urges every day for 3 to 4 days. And then I had about a week that was pretty good. And that was followed by giving in again. And once I gave in, the urges spiked. And so like this pattern I'm stuck in where I'm giving in for a couple days and then pulling myself out, I'm experiencing far more urges on the following days, which just means my overall urges experience being at 67 compared to, I mean, even last month I experienced a lot at 46. But when I was doing well, when I went about 3 months without consuming any pornography and overcoming 100% of my urges, my urges per month dropped significantly. It started at 40, but then this next month it was 23, and then the month after that it was 16 over the course of a full month. And so I can tell that the cycle I'm kind of getting stuck in right now, where I have a good week and then a bad week, is just causing me to experience significantly more urges overall. Which obviously I didn't enter this month planning on experiencing that cycle. That's never the goal. And so just saying I'm going to stop, if I could just stop watching porn completely, I would have about 5 years ago. But overcoming 70% of urges, I think, is good. The sheer number of urges experienced resulted in me watching considerably more porn than I intended to. I was over 200% of the goal, and escorts texted, I was about 110%, which those two categories, I am noticing when I do watch porn, I'm trying to get better at becoming mindful during the experience and recognizing while I'm actively engaging. Like, I can separate from the thoughts and the emotions I'm experiencing. I can stop. Like, I can stop in the moment. And there are moments where I do temporarily. I pull myself out. And there's an active recognition in those moments that if I stop, I have to deal with the ramifications. I have to text people that I'm doing this, and I have to go through my questions following consumption. I have to listen to my recording, and then just generally I'm going to feel really shitty afterwards. And the entire, what addiction is avoidance and escapism and trying to run away from either tangible physical problems or emotional problems. And there's almost an active choice of like, I'd rather just put this off and keep watching porn because I'm going to have to do it anyways, but I don't want to do it right now, and I don't want to feel the way I'm going to feel after this right now. So if I just keep going, I'll at least be able to push it off a little bit. And that results in, what could be 10 minutes of porn consumption turns into an hour because I don't want to deal with the ramifications following the behavior. So I'm trying to get better at not letting that happen and just recognizing like I'm gonna have to deal with this anyways, so I might as well reduce the porn consumed, because ultimately, even if I give in like in this month 18 times at 10 minutes each would be 3 hours. In 18 times turned into 13 because of this tendency to try to like make it last as long as possible in order to avoid the aftermath. And overall, I have tried to, in the last video, the point I made was, or the point I was trying to solidify to myself was that these, my problem isn't just that I watch porn on occasion. Like, if I watched porn once every couple weeks, or if I watched like a total of an hour or 2 hours a month, even, my optimally I don't want to watch it at all. But if I only watch that, the negative effects of doing so would be very minimal. My issue is that I allow engagement and consumption of pornography to excuse continual engagement and consumption of pornography, to where one slip up in one failure to overcome my urge turns into a week of completely over exaggerated consumption, and I allow what could be 20 minutes to turn into 6 hours. And then I do that repeatedly to where and in the past, I've allowed what could have been 20 minutes to turn into 4 months of like hundreds of hours of consumption, and giving in, just like completely giving in to every urge for stimulus and instant gratification that popped into my mind. And so if I, even looking at this month, looking at the periods which I was giving in, like, this started off with one failed urge that was 40 minutes, and it led to an additional 5 hours or 6 hours of porn consumed as a result. And it took over a whole week. And then going down to this next one, I kind of like continuously gave in but didn't fully over the course of 2 weeks. But then once I fully did, I allowed it to just kind of take over the week. So I'm really trying to think through how to reduce that aspect of this experience, how to reduce my likelihood of letting consumption lead to a sustained period of consumption. And I'm trying to attack it on two fronts, because for 3 months I overcame 100% of my urges, and I thought that I had pretty much created a tool, or found a tool, that was 100% effective. And when I made that tool, I was trying to make it as easy as possible, because in the past, something I've continuously done is try to build these systems, build these tools that are so elaborate and time-consuming that I never actually use them. So this tool was as simple as text my accountability partner saying, I feel an urge to do this. I no longer do this, so I'll do this healthy activity instead. Meditate for 3 minutes. And set a timer for 57 minutes. Go do the healthy activity, and then text him after an hour and say, I didn't act on the urge and overcame it. And ultimately, it took like 4 minutes of active time to go through this, and it seemed 100% effective. And I'm starting to recognize, especially, I think that tool, when you've had separation from the behavior you're trying to overcome, because I talk specifically about porn in these videos, because that is the dominant behavior that's causing self-destruction in my life. But I think addiction as a whole, the overarching process behind it is similar, no matter if it is an addiction to some sort of chemical like drugs or alcohol, or a behavior like porn or gambling. The process is the same. Addiction starts to really spiral once you try to stop, because the behavior itself then starts to cause shame and fear and anxiety and anger, and the behavior creates a lot more damaging negative emotions that you then continuously use the behavior to run from, and it creates these amplified cycles of compulsivity. In my experience, I'm starting to really recognize this after the fact of when I give in, I can feel my, like, even after giving in once, even like I haven't given in for 2 weeks, and then I've overcome 15 urges, and I feel like really good, and then I give in one time, and I immediately feel this conglomerative, overwhelming cascade of negative emotions from like self-loathing and self-doubt, anxiety, fear, anger, like disgust, shame. I feel all of it because this is a behavior that's ruined my life, and I have allowed to ruin my life for over a decade now. And every time I give in, it just makes me feel like I'm never going to accomplish anything I want to accomplish because I can't even not do this disgusting, pathetic thing. And then the emotions, like emotions are intrinsically tied to thoughts. Our emotional state produces our thoughts, and then our thoughts will amplify our emotional state. It's a positive feedback loop. And I'll start to experience just very unconscious thoughts of, like, I'm never going to accomplish anything, and this is so gross and pathetic. And, like, how am I ever going to accomplish my goals if I can't even stop giving into this behavior? Like, I'll never overcome this. And those thoughts just start running through my brain. And for over a decade, I've trained myself to deal with discomfort and negative thoughts by smoking weed or watching porn or binge watching a TV show or playing a video game or eating garbage food. Just any sort of stimulus that overtakes the conscious experience and provides a strong pleasure, I've learned to use as a tool. And subconsciously, after doing that repeatedly, after following up a negative emotion or a negative experience with a instantly gratifying, highly stimulating behavior, the brain starts to create an association where those things just create urges. And so I'm noticing more clearly in the moment following consumption that there is just a blanket of negative emotions that overtake me, and I get lost in these negative thought patterns regarding like self-loathing, self-doubt, and then the urges I feel are so amplified, and my susceptibility to them feels like it skyrockets. And I'm really trying to improve my system from two fronts, because I'm noticing that there are times where a huge part of the reason that I had 3 months of success is because I was extremely motivated. I was in a relationship in which I wanted to succeed for my girlfriend. I saw the pain that I caused her with my behavior, and I cared a lot about her. And that gave me a strong sense of motivation to change. And I think the sad reality that I'm trying to fix is I don't think I care about myself. And so that relationship ended, and that external source of motivation where I wanted to change for her disappeared. And suddenly I'm just trying to change for myself. And on some level, I think I really just hate myself and think I don't deserve to change, and I'm sad and pathetic, and I don't care. And I'm really actively trying to take steps to change that and to fix the root of my self-worth issues. But now there are a lot more moments where that tool where I just meditate for 3 minutes and text accountability partners and do a light reframe isn't enough. And I finish the meditation and I'm just kind of sitting there like, I still really want to do this, and I'm facing a lot of thoughts to do this. And then I'm just kind of sitting there with it. And there have been a lot more instances where I give in after using the tool. And so I'm recognizing that tool isn't always enough. I think if there's been a significant amount of time away from the behavior, a lighter, easier, less time consuming tool will be almost 100% effective, but especially following consumption when the urges are amplified, I have decided to create a 3-tiered system where if I'm still feeling the urge after I meditate, move on to text the accountability partner again, say I still feel the urge, I'm going to go for a 15-minute walk, and then get out of the immediate environment, get into an environment where you're moving the nervous system and you're in public, and it just gives you distance from the behavior and gives me more time to try to remain mindful or establish mindfulness. And then if that doesn't work, if there's still an urge being experienced after that, I've created a list. Again, text accountability partner, say, still feeling the urge, I'm going to go do this instead. And I've created a list of people I can text to try to hang out with if no one's available, places I can go to work in public or to go on a walk at a park, like different activities I can do. Because the reality is, like, as much as it's easy to say, I'm not going to let one slip up, or I'm not going to let my engagement in this behavior be an excuse to keep giving in indefinitely. It often is. I often do. And if I have to sacrifice even 2 hours of work and productivity in order to take a more extreme approach to ensure that I overcome the urge and don't give in, that is ultimately far more productive. Because even from a time efficiency and productivity standpoint, I lose that same amount of time even from giving in one time. And it's very likely that I'm going to lose a significantly higher amount of time, because from past experience and data, it shows there's a good chance I'm going to keep giving in, and it's going to keep eroding my productivity for days or weeks following. And then also trying to attack it more on the back end of, I haven't done this yet, but I want to plan out different tools to kind of ground me and to help me cut through that emotional shitstorm and all those negative thought patterns that I really get lost in. It feels like I devolve into a lower level of consciousness. And if I can ground myself in the recognition that, like, I feel all these emotions right now, I am experiencing these thoughts, my urges are amplified, and if I can plan for that and create steps to take following consumption to ensure, again, that this might not be the most productive day from a work standpoint, but I am significantly less likely to keep giving in, and I can shut off the negative momentum and quickly reestablish my discipline and impulse control. I think that'll be very helpful to slow down or completely eliminate this tendency to let 30 minutes of consumption turn into 5 hours or 10 hours of consumption. And again, that's ultimately the problem. Because even if I were to never get to complete abstinence from my addictive behavior, if I can reliably sit at 10% to where I'm giving in for an hour or 2 hours a month, that is significantly better than what I've experienced all of my life, where I allow one moment of weakness to turn into weeks or months or years of absolute self-destruction and self-loathing. So that is what I'm working on moving forward. This video is, I want to change my overall approach with this channel. And these videos don't work from a viewership standpoint. I have this plan if I want to start and keep working on a podcast, and then there's YouTube channels I want to do, and I want to change the format for these growth documentation videos. But I am just struggling. Like, again, there is so much to do, and I am not working at my full capacity. My full capacity is 200 240 to 280 hours a month, and I'm working at half of that. This month I worked at half of that, and that was a good month in relation to the last few months. So there's so much I'm wanting to do, and I'm failing to do so right now. And I've kind of decided that I've been working at this job for over a year to try to get promoted and solidify my position. And I'm in that process of getting promoted. And for a month or two, that is my priority. I just want to hit the ground running there and ensure that I succeed. And that is going to come at the cost of this YouTube channel and Progress Theory as a whole. And so if you're watching this video, if you've watched this far, I am going to put significantly more effort into all the content I'm creating moving forward. And it might take a couple months for me to really start up that engine and that process. But that is the plan. It's not always going to stay this low effort and low budget. It will improve substantially. But if you have watched this up until this point and found any sort of value in it, or just thought it was worth sticking around, I do very much appreciate you. I know this is not the most stimulating or engaging video, and it's as a whole just me talking about myself and trying to think through my life and fixing my problems. But I do appreciate any attention that you are willing to give me. It is very valued, and does make it feel worth it at this point. So I appreciate it. I will try to post a couple podcast episodes this month, but realistically, October and maybe even November is when I'm going to really start ramping up and posting a lot more consistently. So hopefully you'll see me in some podcast episodes this month, but if not, I will post another growth documentation video in a month. Until next time.